video on the cycle, I was talking about how this cycle sounds when we play it on the bass, and we were checking out a couple of different ways of playing just the roots. And I love practicing concepts, any kind of concept or sound or scale or pattern through the cycle on the bass. For one, the bass is tuned in descending fifths, or otherwise known as ascending fourths. E, A, D, G. That's a slice right out of the cycle. So if I understand the cycle, and if I have the cycle under my fingers, then I'm going to have a much better understanding of how the bass works. And you could argue that the fifth is maybe the most important interval for the bass player anyway, just because it shows up in so many grooves, right? So the fifths are everywhere, and practicing concepts through the cycle hits every key there is. The fifth, or its inversion, the fourth, is the only interval other than the minor second that hits every key if I keep repeating that interval. So in other words, if I play minor seconds over and over, I'm going to come back around at my C, right? So I'm repeating the same interval, a minor second, over and over. I come back around where I started. The fifth is the only other interval that does that. Or the fourth, if I turn it on its head. But practicing a concept in minor seconds, we bass players get really guilty of doing just that, right? On some other instruments, this is way harder to do. On bass, we just move it up and down. That doesn't give us a lot of information about what we're playing. So practicing it through the cycle, I also hit every single key there is, but I do so in a much less just moving things around kind of a way. So I love practicing concepts like that and saying the note names. So if you need some help about how to correctly name notes when something's a flat, when something's a sharp, we can also talk about how to use the cycle for that, or come and check out my classroom for in-depth information on that. I'm going to do a little bit of that here, but you are also welcome to just play through the things that I'm about to show you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on, let's say, the major triad. Now in your handouts, you have two different versions on how to finger the major triad, and I recommend you practice both of them through the cycle. In the first video, I showed you how to play the roots of the cycle on the lowest two strings. So here's my major triad grip. You start with the second finger. That gives you access to the major third right here, and you have your fifth of the triad up here. So root, third, fifth, that's a major triad, and I'm fingering it like that, and now I'm going to move this through the cycle. So here I'm in C, I'm going to go to F. Now I'm going to shift down to B flat, just like we did in the first video, and then to E flat. And if you want to say the note names, you're going to say A flat, C, E flat, D flat, F, G flat, G flat, B flat, D flat. Now switch to the sharps, B, D sharp, F sharp. Okay, so that's a great practice and a great thing to practice. You know, can practice it all the way through the cycle. Now, I said there's another good way of fingering a major third, a major triad. So another good way is starting with your pinky. You start with your pinky, then you're gonna move this pattern through the cycle. Now, of course, once we get to the end of the bass, we're gonna have to shift, because now I'm gonna run out of strings. So you can either go all the way up if you want, that's the easiest way to do it, and then you can continue all the way around. Okay, so of course you can also do that with your minor triads. There's some information about how to best finger minor triads. That's in the handouts. You can do that. We've done this now the easy way, right? Go around like that. You can practice it, saying the note names, all that. But now, let's do it in one position. So, if I go through the cycle, but stay in one position, that's a different skill. We practice two ways of fingering that major triad, starting with the second finger, and so forth, and then also we practiced it starting with the pinky finger. So what you gotta do is, as you're playing your C major triad, you think ahead, well, where's my F? Well, that's easy, I just move the whole thing up a fourth, there we go. But now I have to find my B flat, and the easiest B flat to find in this area without moving more than one fret, because that's the goal, is this B flat here, and always think your starting finger for a major triad should be either the second finger or the pinky. If you do that, you don't have to move your hand around. So these are two great ways to finger major triads. And you want to do that through the cycle too. So here's C, F, B flat. I'm going to move to this position, and then E flat. Now A flat, I can conveniently finger again, starting with my second finger. D flat, same thing. F sharp, I'm going to jump down here, otherwise known as G flat, of course, and then here's B. Now for my E, I can keep going here, for example. Now for my A, I'm going to jump down to here, and then my D here. Now G and C. So notice I'm using only those two grips, the two grips for the major triad that you find in your handouts. And I am just moving to a note that's conveniently located so that I can fulfill the whole grip. Now, as you get a handle on that, you can expand and not just play your root, third, fifth, but you can play all the notes that fit into this area on the bass. Well, I always start with the root, right? So let's go by what this position gives us. And it gives us not only root 3, 5, C, E, G, but it also gives me the C up here, and it gives me the G down here. So now when I use all the notes that I have available, I'm gonna jump around like this. So all I'm doing is using the notes of the triad. It may take you a minute to figure it out for each of the keys, since it's different for each one of them, just depending on where the note is, right? And then we can go through the cycle like that. But now let's make some music with that, because you can build some really cool groove solos out of just these shapes. Now I'm gonna groove. I'm gonna use mostly triad notes, maybe slip in a little diatonic walk up here or there. Diatonic meaning out of my major scale. But let's have some fun with that. In the cycle, grooving on triads. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the most important reason why the cycle of fifths, I believe, should be studied, and that's music itself. So I'll see you there.